How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another card game video. Well, sort of, because today we are talking about Embryo Machine. This is a mecha-themed card/board game that will soon be coming to Kickstarter, and by soon I mean today. The same day that this video goes live, the Kickstarter for Embryo Machine should also go live. Maybe not at the exact same time, but I will have a link to that Kickstarter in the description down below if you think this is cool and you would like to check this out. This was actually sent to me by Lion Wing Studios, the publishers, I believe, of this game. And I gotta say, this game's really, really sweet. You know, they sent this to me, to check out. And today, you know what? We're gonna open this up. We're gonna look at it, see kind of what you get. This is actually the Japanese version of the games, though there are some cards in here that are in English. And I do have the English translations of all the mechs. I do believe the original version of Embryo Machine was Japanese only, so we are finally getting an English localization of it, and I am very excited for that because if you like Mecha, if you're a fan of, Robotech, Gundam, Macross, even like Evangelion, I'm a big fan of all that stuff. I do have a character bag here. This is a character from Gundam, in fact. I grew up on that kind of stuff. There's some really underrated ones out there too, like Big O. Now this is going to be like a whole rabbit hole. So maybe we'll save that for a later video. Today, we are talking about Embryo Machine. This is basically, like I said, like a board game / card game. Each mech that you choose has its own specific deck, though you can customize it as well. But when you buy it right out of the box, each mech has its own specific deck with its own attacks and defenses and all that kind of stuff. And you actually have like a grid, like a board game. In fact, here we can have like a little example of it. And you move your mech around on that grid based on your movement. It's kind of a lot like a Mech Warrior. So Mech Warrior, not anime, but still really, really in that genre. I also played a lot of Mech Warrior back when I was a kid. Like, what did I play? It was like the Mad Cat or something like that. And that's actually what this reminds me a lot of. This reminds me of Mech Warrior, because in this game, you can suit out your mech, like all pieces of your mech. So like the arms, the legs, the chassis, all that kind of stuff with like rockets and swords and all this kind of stuff that you could totally do in Mech Warrior. This is kind of like a Mech Warrior board game, honestly, but it's a little bit more sleek. The mechs are way sleeker, very reminiscent of like Gundam and that kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's go to the top down. Let's open this up, kind of see what comes in an Embryo Machine box. Once again, this is like a board game. This is not like a trading card game. This is a situation where you buy the box and you get all of the things. So I imagine there's like some Kickstarter, bonuses and that kind of stuff for stretch goals and, all the Kickstarter shenanigans. But this is, for the most part, you buy the thing, you get all the things. So yeah, like I said, let's go to the top down and check it out.
In the world of Velm, endless warfare pits major and minor powers in a continuous struggle for dominance. Neither magic nor monsters exist in Velm, but the land harbors something equally frightening: titanic humanoid machines that rule the battlefield. Excavated 40 years ago and now fully operational, these Embryo Machines will be your superweapon in the fight to claim Velm as your domain. That is the premise for Embryo Machine, the board game, or just the Embryo Machine board game. It's a 2 to 6 player game. An even number of players is recommended because there is like a team mechanic in this game. And it's about 15 minutes per player. And it does say ages 12 and up. I do have the English rules right here. I've read through them a couple different times. Haven't had a chance yet to fully play the game, but I've thought about it a lot. And I think it's actually a really cool game. And we're just kind of going to, go through this, open this up. The reason I haven't played it is because I wanted to show you what this looks like fresh, from a new player perspective. When you get, this box, what's going to come inside. And I noticed when I looked inside that there is a bunch of... There's a bunch of like pieces and punch outs and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of wanted to show you just what everything looked like, in its completion. And then maybe in a future video, if you think this game is cool enough and you want to see more, maybe in a future video, I will do like some gameplay or a gameplay rundown. Though we will talk about the rules, because like I said, I have read through the rules quite a bit. So I do know the mechanics, and they're pretty interesting. And you can kind of excuse some of these here. These ones are in Japanese, but not all the stuff I have in this box is in Japanese. But we're going to kind of flip through here just to see. And I do have, by the way, so I have these in Japanese, but I do have their English translations here. So this is Garu. So this is like a wolf mech. And you can kind of see what what each of the pieces means here. Like, for example, let's just take a look at this, right? I think this is one of the coolest mechs in this game. There's a couple that I really, really like. And so obviously this is what it looks like in Japanese. This is what you would get when you play the game. Like when you buy the game, you'd get something like this. And you know, there's one of these for every single mech. And I'm going to show you every single mech because that's like, you know, that's the coolest part here, checking out all of the rad mechs. But like, what do all these numbers and what do all these stats mean? Well, like I said, it's very similar to like Mech Warrior. So here we have the pieces of the body. We have like right arm, left leg, right leg, body. I said chassis before, but you know, body and head, and different pieces can go here. For the ones that come in the box, they just come with all these pieces, you know, set. There's some rules to actually do your custom mech, like your own custom mech, if you wanted to. This side here with the little circle on the top, this is the basic version of the mech, and it's basically, you know, the fundamental version. And if you wanted to do more advanced gameplay with more advanced, complicated rules, you could play with the advanced version of the mech. And it's kind of like a player choice at the start of the game. Like all the players will decide, we're going to play with the advanced or we're going to play with the basic. No one's going to be like, I play basic, you play advanced. Everyone plays the same thing just to stay on the same balance field, you know, so everything's all balanced. So let's take a look at the advanced Garo here. A Guru? I keep saying Garo. I think it's Guru. It means wolf, you know? So here we have initiative. Initiative only matters for tiebreakers if both players are going to be taking the turn at the same time. Move is the maximum number of squares that you can move when you do a move action. And I believe you have to do your full move when you do a move action based on the card that you play. So if it says move 4, you have to move 4. You can't move like 4 or less. Evade, this is very interesting. Evade is your hand size. You discard your hand every single turn, and then at the start of the turn, you draw back up to your hand size. So this one is 4. That's pretty low, actually, but that's because he's quite powerful. Some of the numbers here actually determine certain parts of your deck, like armor, for example, is the number of armor cards in your deck, and the whole is the your deck size. So your deck would be 23 cards. You can tell which cards go in your deck by this here. This big LG here determines like which cards go in your deck. And we'll like look at the cards and kind of we'll go over everything, you know, as we go on. He's a medium size and he's also a heavy class. Heavy classes tend to have less evade, less move, maybe more armor. Stuff like slot, charge, and damage. Slot is simply the number of parts slots you have available to your mech. As you can see, the mech is already filled out. Slot 11, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 slots in the mech. You don't really have to worry about that because, you know, once again, this is not a custom mech. It's just the one, the pre-built one. And it is highly recommended that you play with the pre-built ones several times before you go and try to make your own, because I think that's a little bit more complicated. Charge damage is the amount of damage you do when you do a charge attack. Counter charge damage, pretty self-explanatory. The amount of damage you do when you do a counter charge. And we're not going to delve super deep into the mechanics here. We'll go a little bit over them, and I'll have links and stuff to the Kickstarter and all the rules. And it's a fairly complicated game, but I don't think not really once you kind of get into it. So that's the basic rundown of the mech. You know, you have your hand size, the amount that you can move, your deck size. The slot and the armor are really only for like deck building constraints, but for the pre-generated ones, you don't really have to worry about that because you already have what cards you're going to put in your deck. Each card has some letters on it that signify which, you know, mech they go into. So we put all the LG cards into the Guru deck. And then here we put our little team symbol, depending on which team we are, because you do typically do teams in this game, though you can do like a free-for-all kind of thing. So that's this. That's kind of like this whole spiel. Let's take a look at all of the mechs. We're not going to take a look at their English names because I want to look at I want to show you like what the actual print quality of this kind of is. And once again, you know, this is a Kickstarter game, so this isn't indicative of the final quality of the Kickstarter, but this is indicative of the final quality of the Japanese version. So I would assume the quality is, you know, the same or better. I really like this mech. I think this one is super cool looking. As you can see, the backside is it's just the same thing with different different weapons and all that kind of stuff. Super cool though. This is really cool. What I really like about this is, at least on these, it kind of gives you some little tips here. So it says this one is a veritable master of short range combat and high damage weapons. Shredding armor is what Guru does best. And it says Guru. Maybe we will go over these ones. Just so we can kind of read that out and you can kind of see what's what. I just think it's less exciting looking at like some paper, you know, than the actual game pieces that you're playing with, because these are actually game pieces. You put this on your board because this is where you put like your deck. So like you put your deck here right here. You put your second segment and first segments here. Basically, to play cards, you put them like face down here and kind of prepare actions, and you do them like one at a time, depending on which segment you pick, or depending on what kind of action you pick. Destroyed area, your destroyed cards go here. Add-on area, any add-ons go here, and then your discard area. So this is actually something you put, on the field, right? When you are playing your game, you have this in front of you, which is sweet because you can kind of see your mech and all your, your loadout here, and then you have all your areas to put all your cards, which I think is cool. It creates a cool like HUD for this game. So this is Tortahan. It says this Embryo machine is best for medium to short range combat. Get too close and Tortahan's axe or pile bunker will end the battle in an instant. And so here we have both versions of Tortahan. Arachne. This EM is ready to fight both close quarters and long distances. Use deadly mines to control the battlefield and strike hard with long range missiles. There's like a mine mechanic too. You can see he's got the mines loaded up, and you can see all their like various stats here. Here we have Argyros, which I think is actually really, really cool, like this Lancer. And he says, an excellent EM for short and medium ranged warfare. Just a hop, skip, and a charge attack away. And I guess he focuses a lot on charge attacks, but the Lance really plays into that. We have the advanced version of the Argyros. This one is Visner. This one looks pretty sweet too. This one says medium and long range shooting attacks are this EM's specialty. Keep a safe distance and light up the skies, kind of like your sniper. Yeah, I think this is he literally has snipers. Yep, he is the sniper. This one is Zimmer. This reminds me of a mech from Gundam. I don't remember what they're called. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. This definitely reminds me of a mech from Gundam. It says a well-balanced for close combat and long distances. Rain down terror on enemies near and far. Yeah, a well-balanced EM. So this is kind of like a pretty good, balanced one. This one looks awesome. Orage. Use short and medium range energy weapons to blast the enemy. Just don't get distracted by all of the explosions you've set off. This one looks awesome. This is probably one of my favorite ones too. Very, very, like much lower deck size, but also 0 armor in this. So he's kind of squishy. Definitely, probably one you want to play in a big free-for-all where you can just blast dudes and not have to worry about getting focused or something like that. This is Hystrix. This one looks crazy. This one looks actually crazy. Look at these spikes on his head. This fixed turret EM launches medium and long range missiles to keep mechs at bay. When enemies appear, surprise them with spikes. So yeah, you can just, give a good old head spike. He only has 3 cards a turn though. That's pretty limited. Definitely got a big hole. One thing I should note is your hole is both your deck size and your life, because when you get hit, you gotta get rid of some cards, and once you're out of cards, it kind of signifies like parts of your mech breaking down because it's your hole. Once you can't attack or run out of cards, you're kaput. This is for Nice. Light and agile, this EM blends impressive speed with pinpoint attacks, zip around the battlefield before pulverizing the enemy. They'll never see it coming. Never know what hit them. Initiative 1, 10 evade, 10 cards per turn. It's a lot of options. It's pretty crazy, but the hole size is only 17. It's quite low. Quite low. And I believe that does it. We are back around to Lugaroo, the werewolf. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. And obviously, the Kickstarter version will be in English, and we'll go through these very quickly. You can kind of see the print quality is much better than those sheets that I just showed you, but very, very cool. Wait, did I don't think I saw this one. This is the Tortahan. Oh no, we started with the Tortahan, didn't we? Yeah. This is pretty cool. He's got big old wing axe things, which is pretty sweet. Still reminds me of a Gundam. Man, what Gundam is it? You know what it is. You know what I'm talking about. This one also kind of reminds me of, a lot of these honestly remind me of Gundam. This weird, like, spider dude. But yeah, so those are the mechs. There are no, like, acrylic pieces, though this does come with the mech. So let's set these, kind of off to the side. And let's start looking at some of the other stuff that come in this board game. Here we just have a piece of paper to kind of separate things out. I believe this is a list of all of the cards and what they do. And it's like several identical lists, and so when you're playing, you can kind of give these to the other folks who are playing with you, and you can kind of like, kind of just have a list of all the stuff. So yeah, that's kind of cool. the rules that I have here also list out what all of the cards do. But the cards that I have here are actually in English, so we don't need to reference any of that kind of stuff. So this is actually the meat of the game, right? This is what comes with, or what the game comes with when you open it up. Here we have all of our mechs, all of our embryo machines here. These are various like counters you can use. This is terrain that you'll put in between here for like terrain purposes when we actually make the map. And we'll kind of punch some of these out and kind of like go through it as we go, because I wanted to be this this to be like a first look kind of thing. Like if I got this for the first time, what would I be doing? Same thing when you get it, what would you be doing? These are all mines actually, so you don't know what they do on this side, but you can see what they do on this side. They're mines. They do various amounts of damage or nothing at all because they're dummy mines. Here we have some more mines and some various pieces of the game. Like these are for the teams, for example, and then these are also to signify like what team you are. So you'll put your mech on these, and she'll show you what team you are. And then here's all of the decks and all that kind of stuff. So let's actually pop out a mech and kind of get it suited up, and yeah, we'll talk about a little bit of the rules as we go, and yeah, I think this will be a little bit of fun. So what we'll do is we'll take out all of these decks here, and we'll pick a mech, probably one of the ones that I said that I thought was really cool, and then we'll just make the deck for that mech, put it in its like little holder or little standy thing, and kind of prep like we were going to play a game, but we're not actually going to play a game here. Like I said, if you think this video is cool, you think this game is cool, maybe we will play a game. Just let me know. And I want to say all of this stuff, this is pretty hefty, man. Like it was a pretty heavy box. So I really like this guy. This one's really cool. So we'll punch that out. So we'll have this little mech piece here. Have it on the other side there. And we'll also punch out these, because we're going to need these for the map, I believe. So we'll punch those out. And we're going to leave all this other stuff in here for now, because we won't need these for today's purposes. Today, these are the pieces for your team. So let's just going to assume that we are going to be on the blue team. You can see these are like identical pieces on here. But these are for teams. The reason that there's red, blue, and then a couple of yellow is if you wanted to do, you can do like a 1v1, so you can pick your colors and do 1v1. You can also do 2v2, or you can do 2v2v2 or 3v3. So the game supports up to 6 players, usually in even amounts. So like I said, you can do 1v1. 2 players. You can do 2v2 for 4 players, or you can do up to 6 players. There technically can have an odd amount of players, and you can do like a 3-way free-for-all. You can have a red, a yellow, or an orange, and a blue. So yeah, we're gonna be blue. Let's just say we are gonna be the blue 5 here. The mines, the way the mines work is you scatter the mines on the game board when you do a mine, and then you trigger the mine and see what it is. I would definitely like shuffle all of the mines up before you do that to kind of see what they are. So yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. This little piece right here gets punched out because our standee is actually going to go through that. So that little piece gets punched out. These pieces will go on the map, and we will punch the map out as well. So here's the map. It gets punched out. And you can see the numbers here on the map. Those actually signify like certain levels of elevation. So like the +1 is 1 higher than the regular plus, and the +2 is 2 higher than the regular plus. And that actually matters for movement. Like elevation matters. As does difficult terrain, like the foliage here and the water. So certain mechs can move quicker in the water. You can get like, well, not certain mechs, but certain items you can have, like will increase your movement speed over difficult terrain or water. So let's kind of set this stuff here. I'm going to grab the, I don't know what I'm going to call it, the player board for the mech that we're going to be doing. Of course, he's the one at the back. Yep. Okay, so we're going to do this guy. We're going to get LO. So we're going to set these ones, once again, off to the side. Here is the decks, all the cards. We're going to be searching through here and looking for all of the LO cards. But before we do that, Let us clean this up a bit. We'll get our game board set up, and we'll get our like little pieces all set up. So these are the little standees. We're going to use these to prop the mech up. And of course, there are more than enough in here for multiple players. And so the way this works is you will put your team piece through here, so you can kind of signify what team your mech is from, and then you can put it like this. And the reason you want to put it like this with like the colored piece on this side, and then this is like the back of the mech, is because this actually shows your attack range. So let's kind of get this a little bit closer. So you can see how this part is just a solid blue color. This mech can attack all of the stuff in front of it in that range. But behind it has got this X with these black lines. It means your mech cannot attack behind it. I mean, because it's standing, you know, in a certain direction, you can't attack behind it because you can't look behind it. You know, it's a mech. So this is kind of like how you signify which direction your mech is facing, you know, to make it quite clear. And cool. So we're gonna set that aside. This piece here is pretty interesting. This piece is if you wanted to connect the two maps. So you don't have to play with both of these maps. In fact, if you're playing with less people, it's suggested that you only play with one of them. However, you can, let me see if I can clamp this in. You can connect the two maps like so, if you'd like. And then here would be like difficult terrain, and then you'd have to be able, you can, maybe purchase sniper up here or something like that, or, hide around here so you can, make it more difficult for your opponent to attack. Because there also is line of sight in this game. These little markings here, the little like, I'm not sure what you want to call these, just these little like half plus symbols, these Tetris symbols. These are where your starting locations are, right? So you can choose, like, say I'm blue team, we're going to start over here. And same is true for here as well. You can also do it the other way. So if you wanted to have a more like fortified central location, you can put this in here as well. So it's like a fortified like little base down there. And then these go to fill out the rest of the area. Right? So you can use these to cap in the remaining areas that are left blank. So I mean, that's how you set up the board. Depending on what you want to do, you can kind of discuss with your play group how you're going to set this up. I think there's a lot of different options. So for this one, let's just say I like the one with we'll do the one with the elevated platform here. And we will not be using this because we're not doing the middle piece. So we would just use this piece here. I can either put this here or put this here, whatever you so desire. For this one, I'm going to swap it like this because I think it's cool. This looks like a ruin or something like that, a ruined area. And this one's got a lot of open ground. And what I would do here probably is instead of starting on these areas, I would start in the top and bottom to make it a little bit more fair. So that's how I would do it. And then you would like place your mech like at the starting zone, and your opponent will place their mech, up to teams of 2, and so on. So this is how like the game basically plays. You move your mech around the board, certain movements to get up to higher places. So like for example, he's got a movement of 5. So to get up to here, it would cost like 1 movement plus an additional 1. So that's it probably costs 5 to get up to here total, I think. So it normally costs a movement to move, right? But here it costs an additional movement. So that was 2. And then here it costs 2 additional movement. So that's 3. So if I was here, it would cost 2 and then 3. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. So then, in order to make our deck, let's go ahead and do that. Let's not use the advanced version. Let's use the less advanced version here. And so basically, you would just go through the cards, and you would pick the cards that have those letters here. So you can see this one says AR and then for both of them. So the easiest way to do it, in my opinion, is to probably just like this on the bottom. And I would just go and we're looking for LO. And so we would just literally go through here and grab all of the LO cards. And so I'm going to do that right now. And we're specifically grabbing the LO cards that have the circle, because some cards will have either a circle or the diamond, or both. Most of these are both right now, and these are all movement cards, and you can kind of see the amount of movement. So like this is move your unit 4 squares. You have to move that 4 squares. You can't move less than that. The amount displayed on your character is the maximum number that that character can move. And here, as I flip through the weapons, you can kind of see all of the different weapons in the game, their range, their damage, the type here. All of this stuff actually matters in terms of when you play it and timing and all that kind of stuff. And you've got this net launcher with the special ability. And as I go through here trying to look for more LO cards, you can kind of just take a look at the things that I'm passing by. Like you said, what is this? Soundstorm. What does Soundstorm do? Type, etc. So this is like a special type of card. Reduce the target's evade to half. Place a 1/2 marker on the card. So that's what those are on the mech. That's what those little tokens were for that I kind of showed off earlier. That I was like, oh yeah, we're not going to use them here, but I'll show you. Here we have like the 1/2, +6, 1, all that kind of stuff. So that's what these are used for. And before we start talking about the cards in the deck and kind of just showing off this deck real quick, this, just in case you're curious, that is your team and your team number, and you put that here on, where it says team. You put that right there. That number there actually signifies your pick order. So let me go grab this. Here we go. It signifies your pick order, right? And you pick from, 1 all the way to 10 or whatever, or 8. Yeah, I could do math, right? There's eight circles here. Yeah, so that's how you pick your mechs, right? So the first person gets to pick their mech first, and then so on and so forth, back and forth. So there's no argument over that. Here is the deck for our Embryo machine here. Orage is its name, and as you can see, a lot of the cards here have both the circle and the diamond. These are the cards that only have that diamond here. So if you're playing the advanced version of the mech, these cards would go in the deck, and if you're playing with, the basic version, they would get these cards. You basically swap out these cards that only have the circle for the cards that only have the diamond, and both of them will equal up to that whole size here. And I counted these out. This is 20, so that makes perfect sense. No defense cards, though, so this is all action. We've got this, stuff like this Heat Sword, which has a range of 1 to 2 with a damage of 3. And we're not going to go over all of the cards, but you can kind of see, some of the similarities here. Heat Sword has an on-hit effect, or rather a before-hit effect, I guess. And the large laser just has a much larger range. And, we have multiple copies of each of these in the deck to, ensure some sort of redundancy. Yeah, so I think it's actually really, really cool. I believe every single mech has an aim card in their deck. And then we have the charge card. This is where you would do the charge damage that we saw on the mech board. We got all these move actions. And basically you draw up to your hand every single turn. And when you play cards, you kind of pick what you're going to do, and then you put them down like this. And then you kind of resolve in order of what kind of effect you did. So for example, let me grab my handy dandy rules cheat sheet, and we can kind of go over which ones resolve first. So basically you resolve the first segment, and then you resolve the second segment once you get to that phase. You do have a couple other phases before that. You have your draw phase, where you draw up to your evasion size up here, and then you have your plotting phase, where you put the cards that you want to play into the respective zones that you're going to play into. And then you have the action phase. So we're going to resolve our first segment first. You only do one segment at a time. So the first one and then the second one. And all the players do this kind of in order depending on what card they chose during the plotting phase. So move cards go first. So this is what it's called, the move timing. And I'm kind of looking at the rules here as we go just to make sure I get it right. And so what card do we have? So we actually have a combat type card, so we will not be going. So if an opponent had a move card, they would do theirs, and then shooting timing. So if someone has a shooting card, they would do theirs, and then combat timing, and we would reveal ours, and so on and so forth. If another player reveals a combat timing card, then whichever has the better initiative up here would go first. So that makes the speedier machines a little bit better in that regard. It's kind of a corner case if you both reveal the same type of card at the same time, but that's where that evasion comes in. Or rather, the initiative, not evasion. Evasion is your hand size. Initiative is, you know, when you do like tiebreakers, when you both reveal cards at the same time. And then the final timing is for any card that's not one of those other ones. Not a combat, shooting, or move. So, you know, mines and defense and all that kind of stuff. And then armor cards can be used to defend. And armor cards can be used to like prevent damage and all that kind of stuff. Almost at any time when it would make sense. Just kind of read what the card does and do what the card says. And you can play like armor cards both during certain timing phases, either from your hand or from the plotting area down here. Or rather the segment area. This is called the segment area. Plotting phase, you put cards into the segment area. So yeah, you can play armor cards from the segment area or from your hand, depending on what you want to do. But if you play it from the segment area, you can kind of get better bonuses and that kind of stuff. Certain cards can defend against certain things depending on where they are. It's all slightly more complicated than that, but we're not going to go deep into it here. There's something where like in combat phase, you can kind of determine which way you're facing and all that kind of stuff. But, it's slightly more complicated than that. But that's kind of the gist of it. That's kind of like the gameplay loop that you'll be experiencing. You'll be picking cards from your hand, putting them down during the plotting phase, and then flipping them over and doing what they say. So you kind of like plan out what you want to do. If you want to like move or attack, it makes it so that moving is pretty good, so you can move out of the way if your opponent you think your opponent's going to do like a big melee swing or something like that. So I think there's a lot of like strategic elements to this game. I think this will be a lot of fun. I think it's actually a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend checking the Kickstarter out, seeing if it does it for you. The games don't last a super long amount of time. So for 2 players, it's going to be like a half hour-ish, maybe half hour, 40 minutes, maybe up to an hour for your first game. But it says 15 minutes per player. And I think that's a reasonable amount of time. And with more players, I think it could be really cool. Especially, now if you're still like at home doing social distancing, isolating, if you have, a family member or a loved one, getting something like this and just playing with them, I think it could be a lot of fun. Let me know what you think of Embryo Machine in the comments down below. Definitely check out their Kickstarter. There's also places with much more detailed rules and all that kind of stuff. You can find that on the Kickstarter and on their official website. All that stuff will be in the description down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Maybe check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me directly, and let me know if you'd like to see more of this kind of, non-TCG content. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time for some more card game content. Have a good one, all. I'll see you later.